fight fans, to episode 30 of the Hooks In MMA podcast. We're back with another great episode this week and a couple unique interviews to start things off with. So we've got actually a personal friend joining the podcast. He's our first Australian guest, fighting out of Perth, Australia. He's Hungarian-Australian background. He's a featherweight, 5-0 all time, 4-0 as an amateur. Recently went pro and is 1-0. He's part of Eternal MMA. He's on the main card, Eternal MMA 56, which I guess is airing 4 a.m. Eastern Saturday. So wake up, get your Baileys and coffee going. I'll be doing that. Cheering on our boy, Sebastian Szalay. Welcome, Seb. Thanks for coming on the show. It'll be on UFC Fight Pass. He's fighting a really interesting fighter, Abdullah Altagani. He's 6'3" as a featherweight, 145er. So it's going to be an interesting bout. Tune in for the interview. Seb kind of talks about how he's trained for this and what his approach will be going in. He's a karate background, so he's got a really interesting kind of stance and approach. And really excited for that. Second, certainly not last, we've got a UFC fighter joining the show. He hails out of Hawaii. His name is Maki Coconut Bombz Pitolo. He's fighting this Saturday night on the pay-per-view, UFC 258, Usman versus Burns. He's a 13-7 middleweight, and he'll be fighting another amazing nickname on the card, Julian, the Cuban Missile Crisis Marquez. So I think it's a battle of who's got the best UFC nickname. So be sure to tune into that. It should be a firecracker fight here. So obviously, hot headline news is going to kick off today's episode, talking a bit about the Bellator light heavyweight tournament, speculating what's going to be next for Sandhagen here after that impressive knockout of Frankie Edgar, and then just touching on some of these other highlight big name fights coming up over the next few months. And then, of course, finishing off the episode, getting ahead of that book, easy lines, previews, our UFC 258 card, Usman and Burns. So make sure to write down our expert picks and lock in those parlays. So starting things off, Zoni, why don't you kick off some hot headline news?
Yeah, so really excited. Obviously, Bellator said they had an announcement, and basically their announcement was for the light heavyweight World Grand Prix, along with a couple other pretty big bouts as well, including, Pettis and Archuleta defending his bantamweight bout. That should be a good fight. Few other ones as well, but there's nothing bigger than, two newcomers battling in the quarterfinal here. Anthony Rumble Johnson and Yoel Romero. Knew it would be a firefight. Thought that maybe that they would be, on opposite sides of the brackets with the power and the kill that these guys bring to fights, but they're matched up in the first round here. It could easily be the final if they were on opposite sides of the brackets. So that's the fight that everyone is very, very excited to watch. It's the best matchup, clearly, for popularity, for power, for everything you want in a light heavyweight in the first round. But there are a couple of guys that could take this. The current champ, Vadim Nemkov, who dethroned Bader in his last title defense, actually is the favorite to win this tournament. He should beat Machida in the first round, which is a good fight. But I think Machida is, well past his prime. Corey Anderson, even though an underdog against his opponent, a lot of times I like to pronounce really, really tough names on this podcast. I'm really not going to pronounce the other gentleman on the other side. He's favored to beat Corey Anderson. I could see it being Bader and Anderson on that side. And I truly believe Bader's actually, he'll end up being too much for Anderson. On the other side, Nemkov's facing Davis again. Nemkov is, he beat Bader in good fashion last time out. I think he beats Davis, and we can talk about this all day. Rumble Johnson and Yoel Romero, like we said, one of the best matchups. It could go either way. Whoever wins that's got a tough out with Nemkov. I could literally see it being a rematch for the light heavyweight title, Bader and Nemkov. That's going to be my prediction, but can't wait to see Rumble and Yoel throw down. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I think that those are all great calls. And at first as well, my reaction to that Romero and Johnson matchup was, why would they do that kind of, right? Like, why not put them on opposite sides? Hopefully they meet up in the end. But no, after thinking about it more, it kind of makes sense, right? In terms of Bellator business sense, right? Number one, you guarantee that matchup. As MMA, they want that matchup. That guarantees you, eyes on that right away. Number two, it also guarantees you that one of these guys at least is going to match up against probably Nemkov or like the winner, or kind of like the belt winner, right, for the championship, right? Because I think Nemkov currently has the belt, right, for light heavyweight there. So you're basically whoever, again, if Phil Davis or beats Nemkov, whatever, but most likely Nemkov is probably going to win that. It guarantees at least Romero or Johnson against Nemkov now, right? So I think that's kind of smart as well on their part. So, after thinking about it a little bit more, it definitely makes sense. And yeah, no, I definitely. And then the other thing I was going to say, sorry, is that I don't know what it's like in the United States or here in Canada, at least, for Bellator, DAZN is what is a platform that you need for this, and that one's mainly what I use for football. And football's over now, obviously, so I was planning on canceling it. Now with these new things, signed up for Bellator, I'm going to keep it going. Obviously, all these, streamers or whatever, I could do that as well. But screw it, I'm just going to keep it going. There's other things I watch on there, and now these, this tournament is a big part of it, which I think so. I think they did the right thing. I think it's pretty good. The matchups are pretty good. Bellator stepping up their game, which I love to see in terms of competition against the UFC. Just open market forces everyone to provide a better product. So yeah, it's really encouraging and exciting to see as an MMA fan.
Yeah, so I agree with Z-Ball's a huge fan of this tournament format. I think in general, sports fans would like this format. We saw the same thing a few years ago, right, with the NCAA college football playoffs, how they introduced it. TV ratings went up. People are just in general more engaged. Adds for discussions like this, where you're breaking down future fights. It's on paper, what path they're going to be taking. The only kind of downfall, unfortunate thing is you look at some of these names, and someone at work said it's kind of like the farm system of the UFC, and I don't really agree with that. I would actually call it more of like the senior PGA of the UFC, like the senior league.
Fair enough.
Where guys kind of go past their prime and finish out their career, which is fine. It's just we're not really seeing them in their peak, and there's not like these crazy prospects with crazy upside that the sky's the ceiling. We all kind of know what these guys are capable of.
Hey, Kronz, can I add something too?
Yeah, of course.
And if we just had this tournament for the lightweight division in UFC, can you imagine? Like, you don't even have to, because all these guys are locked in, but it's all about making money and stuff. But don't you think they could make just as much, if not more, if there was 8 guys in that lightweight division and they had a tournament? I think they're afraid to do that because that's the model of Bellator, and it looks bad on them. That's what I truly think. But it would be unreal.
Well, I think I kind of what I compare it to is kind of the college bowl system, kind of, right? Like, why don't they change to more of a playoff? Well, they are starting to, right? Why aren't they expanding? Why haven't they always done it? Because UFC just likes putting these money fights together, right? They like putting together these type of things. Yes, those tournaments are better for the pure competition and sport of it. Is it the best to maximize money? Probably not, right? So that's I believe that's why part of it. Why they also, like you said, they don't want to necessarily copy their thing and admit that it's good or whatever. I think that's a part of it as well. But I think a big part of it is just, money and business at the end of the day for them. So, but, I think Bellator is smart. Like, again, in terms of, putting this together, I think it's great. And it's, the lightweight division doing that, though, that's a like MMA fans fantasy right there to set that up and have that going. But
yeah,
we're gonna see Connor and Dustin, right? Like, kind of going on to the next topic, let's say, or one of various topics, but Connor and Dustin, that looks like is that the main thing that they're going for? Like, that seems like to be the most of the chatter, right? That's gonna be the next fight that UFC is actually setting up for the belt, or what? Like a rematch there?
I'd say like 85%, and then the other 15% would be Poirier moving up to 170 and a money fight with Nate Diaz. That's the other thing. So I think Poirier, that's one of two fights. It's either Connor, or it's Nate Diaz. It really should be Oliveira. For some reason, I think Poirier is at that point where he's a little uninterested in that belt and more interested in maximizing the profits for his family at this point in his career with all the war he's gone through. So, yeah.
Or do you think UFC is the one that's pushing this just because of the, again, money and more money, like, again, more of that setup for that trilogy, right? Sets up for them. Nate Diaz and Connor could do a trilogy, but obviously Poirier is just the more recent one, recency bias. It's the one that's on their mind, everyone's mind as well, right? So probably we'll make a little bit more money on that one.
Yeah, no, I say 85%
Yeah.
that's going to happen because Pacquiao just backed out of the Conor boxing fight and was going to fight Ryan Garcia. So he said he's no longer interested in the Conor fight. That pulls Conor out of that, which actually goes against him because he even admitted he wasn't as focused on Poirier as he should have been. And he was thinking about that Pacquiao fight afterwards. And now it's not even going to happen. So, yeah, Poirier, McGregor, lock it in.
Then where does Olives go then?
Olives is going to be pretty fucking pissed off. What I would do is, I think Gaethje and I think Olives would agree to be a number one contender without question. Like whoever wins that fight will fight the winner of Conor and Poirier. That makes sense to me. I think that's what should happen. But Dana White said today, Khabib is still the lightweight champion. So, I mean, this guy keeps holding on for dear life that Khabib's going to fight at 155 again. We all know, we've talked for a year, the only fight Khabib's going to come back for, his mom wants him to do it. His dad wants him to do it. His mom doesn't want him to fight. His dad wants him only to get 30-0 and to fight GSP. He has to ask his mom because of his religion for that right to do it. He's not fighting at 155 again and defending it against Charlie Olives. It doesn't do anything for him.
Right, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's an epic fight. GSP 165 catch weight. It's the only fight available. If that's not happening, nothing's happening. So, Dana, if you're listening, shut the fuck up and stop trying to convince him to fight at 155 and defend his title. It's not happening.
Also, what's up with Nate? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the only name I'm not saying we forgot or omitted, but Michael Chandler. Like, what's next for him? I mean, you kind of have to reward him after a pretty impressive debut. He didn't go up against a can, right? Like, he went up against a fucking slugger and Dan Hooker. So, I don't know. Something has to happen.
Happened there.
Yeah.
It's actually happening live on, as we called. But no, you're absolutely
I think Michael
right.
Chandler got a hold of that painting or something.
Yeah, he took it down. He fucking gave the old overhand right.
Yeah.
So the only other
No, what I was gonna say is that Chandler seems to be the UFC golden boy a little bit right now, right? He seems to be favored. He obviously got that big win as well now, so that is a good question where he goes. Wherever the fight is, I think I wouldn't be surprised if they give him a belt shot or something, right?
Yeah. So if it's a belt shot, it's Chandler and Oliveira. Oliveira said he won't fight Chandler unless it's for the belt. Gaethje just came off the loss, right, to Khabib. Yeah. If Poirier moves up and fights Diaz, Khabib vacates and possibly fights GSP, then it's a clear-cut 100% Chandler Olives title. Gaethje either fights someone or he gets the winner. That's what it is. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
So, but Olives isn't fighting another fight to make it 9 in a row to just be a number one contender. He said he wants to fight for the belt and he deserves it. But Gilbert Burns in his press conference today said, Olives, if you want to fight for the belt, you need to learn a little better English. And he's kind of not wrong.
I agree with that actually as well, right? I mean, even Khabib, right? He kind of improved his English quite a bit from when he first entered the UFC. And, it definitely, I mean, obviously he had a huge huge following in Russia already. Like, as you said, Russia, 150 million people, or in Ireland, whatever they got, 6 million or something, right? But uh, so he's got enough following there. But once he started learning a little bit more English, then obviously he took off in North America and he just blew up from there. Obviously, his success was already going to bring that, but it made him into a superstar, almost, pretty much as big as Connor, right? So
kind of true. Like, if you can't speak a
yeah.
lick of English and you're at a UFC 300 press conference and you can't even speak a lick of English, and they have the pre-week all these fucking events going on, you got the post-fight press conference, and you're up there and you can't even look at people and say anything in English. What kind of marketability is that? It's like,
and exactly, and it's it's just the way that it is, right? It's just like,
it is.
There's nothing else you can say about it in terms of just straight in terms of business, as we were talking about before, in terms of why UFC is making this, which every MMA hardcore fan would say. As Gaethje said, even Gaethje was like, I'm going to quit UFC, basically, is what he said, if they make that Conor and Poirier matchup. But once again, obviously they can't. Like, those UFC contracts are ironclad. I don't know. I want to know who UFC's lawyers are, because these guys can't seem to fucking negotiate anything out of it ever, unless they're McGregor, basically, at this point, right? So it's pretty interesting what they're gonna, like, we'll see how the fighters react, right? But
100%.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're gonna go along with it. So sorry, the other thing I was gonna say before was Nate Diaz. He seems to, number one, he seems to have the thing with calling. He loves to call out just OG and fucking guys. Jorge Masvidal. He's like, Masvidal had a good ass fight last fight. Same thing with Oliveira. Now he's giving Oliveira respect and putting respect on his name and saying, I'll fight Oliveira. He did great last fight. He just won, right? So he loves to call out those guys. But what I don't like is he's calling out all these 155ers and then saying, let's fight at 170. No, man, you can't do that. Man. You can't say the little guy, hey, come fight me up here. Like, no, like, that's not right in my books. Like, that's what he wants to do. If you want to fight him at want to fight a 155er, fine, that's fine. Then make 155 and fight him. But if you can't make 155, then sorry, stop calling them out. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
and he's saying all this after about 12 dubes, just sitting there in a chair, sounding like he's even more retarded
in this race
than
car chair.
Yeah, yeah, so good.
Unreal. Well, should we jump on easy lines, perhaps?
Anything else? Yeah. Just break down just bantamweights, right? Because obviously, big performance Saturday night. Corey Sandhagen, RIP, Frankie Edgar. That was just insane. I mean, you blink your eyes and it's over.
You go take a piss and they're talking to him after the post fight.
The commercial after the post-fight interview.
Exactly. Like, they're already previewing the next pay-per-view by the time you come out of the can. It's nuts. Like, for bantamweight, it's one thing if a heavyweight guy does it. Sure. Okay. But bantamweight, you don't really see that too often. So, I don't know. There's not as much controversy as lightweight, of course. But what do you guys think? Because obviously, Cody Garbrandt's been kind of up and down, looking to go other divisions. You got Rob Font there, Sterling Yan coming up. So what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, if I could interject for 1 second, I'm going to talk to your point for 1 sec, but I just thought of something in my head. Marlon Moraes obviously was Sandhagen's last victim, and he got knocked out, and that he looked really bad in that. But he did, he's currently recovering from a surgery. What I'd like to see is him recover and Frankie recover, and I'd love to see Moraes and Frankie throw down. I think that'd be a fantastic fight, just thinking off the top of my head. Both guys coming off at least one loss and at the top of the division. But having said what you were asking there, Sandhagen, 2 unbelievable finishes against 2 legends of the sport. Absolutely fantastic. But that was parlayed previously from him losing to Sterling, like, in quick fashion on the ground, which is kind of weird. I just feel like if Sterling wins the bantamweight title against Jan, which he totally could, he's good everywhere. I don't know if they make that fight right away. The guy that interjects here is TJ Dillashaw, coming off the two-year hiatus because of PEDs, one of the worst steroids you could do in the sport. And I watched a video of Corey Sandhagen talking about this and saying, he doesn't deserve to fight me. This guy's a cheater. What better build up for a fight than a guy that hates someone because he cheated? Now the guy's healthy and the guy's hopefully not cheating after 2 years off. That could be legit number one contender fight, like 100%. They were saying like the winner of Jan Sterling immediately fights Dillashaw. No, I think Corey Sandhagen deserves that. So I think you got to match up Dillashaw. What's that? 730 days off because of his suspension. Maybe you should give Dillashaw a fight first before he steps in.
Sandhagen.
Right,
Yeah.
Sandhagen. Him and Sandhagen, that's my number one contender fight. The winner fights the winner of Jan and Sterling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely agree, Zone. And I just want to say, I'll let Z-Balls do his analysis, but like the optics of giving Dillashaw a title fight coming off a 2-year suspension and a ban, it's like it looks like you're kind of rewarding a guy for cheating, giving him that immediate shot. So you're right. I think you put him up against someone tough in the top 5, make him earn that title shot, all the while garnering all this hype and interest and publicity. That can sometimes snowball, right?
I agree. And also, like, I don't think anybody would be stupid enough to cheat, get caught, have 2 years off and cheat again. But like, put him up against Sandhagen and then do a test after and make sure if he ends up beating Sandhagen, do a test after and make sure this guy's been clean for the last 2 years. Because you never know. He could be doing that stuff again, trying to find a quicker way a better way to cheat. Who knows? But you got to go through a positive test here first before I guess it would be a negative test first before you get a chance to fight for the title. If they just throw him out there right away and then he wins the title and another one comes out, like that doesn't look good either. So.
Oh yeah, and one thing I want to mention there too, actually, if you go back and watch that Sterling and Sandhagen fight, I should have mentioned this in last week's episode, but I feel like Sterling actually kind of cheated. The way that he got the back of Sandhagen is he put his toes into the fence and then was able to kind of like wrap around and get his hooks in, like pun intended, right? Get his hooks in there. Hashtag. And then it was, exactly. And, so Sandhagen wasn't expecting that because it was illegal. And that's the reason why Sandhagen got caught. That's the reason why he's been fucking everyone up since then. Because he should be he should be fighting for this title, in my opinion. Well, at least after this Sterling. I mean, like, it is what it is. Obviously, Sterling still deserves that win. I'm not taking that away from him. But, I think, as a spoiler alert, I'm taking Peter Yan to fucking crush him, or at least win that fight, right? So, so Sandhagen and Dillashaw, I don't think they should give him the, he doesn't deserve a shot against Sandhagen, in my opinion, at this point, the way that his performances that he's been putting on. But, as an MMA fan, I wouldn't argue against it either. If they put it on, fuck it. Okay, fine. Put that on. The winner of that fights the winner of Jan Sterling. Fucking let's just get it going. It's just going to happen anyway. So, because whoever Dillashaw fights, he's going to mess up, I think. So, and I don't think he's stupid enough to use PEDs again. I don't think he is, but he is that competitive. That's the reason why he was doing all that shit before, because he's just super competitive guy and he's willing to do pretty much anything. I think he's learned his lesson. I hope he's learned his lesson, because I want to see him kind of straight up, fight some people. So, because there's a lot of good people at 135. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, so. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, he's been training hard the last year and a half with Juan Archuleta, the Bellator champion. So it would be pretty sweet to see a Bellator champion at 135 and a UFC champion again. Obviously, he's had it before at 135. Both those guys training together and just dominating in both different promotions. That'd be kind of cool. They look like animals the way they've been training. So easy lines.
Yeah, it's get ahead of that book. I've got my Bet365 lines up. Ever since
Ready
this
to
whole
go.
GameStop thing, I've been researching stocks, been researching UFC bets. So yeah, let's get it, Wall Street Bets. What are you feeling? What's going to the moon this week?
Yeah. See what's going on. Well, through my Reddit boards that I've been checking now. Well, actually, a combination of MS. Shout out to MMA Reddit at least. You guys, any of you guys watching out there, give us some love, give us some likes, give us some comments there, share us perhaps. But right now, easy lines. We're sitting at a 60.5% win rate with a career win of 95 wins, 62 losses. And to kind of recap last week quickly, unfortunately, the Cody Stamann fight didn't happen, so that eliminated kind of one of our main fights we had some good confidence in. But the co-main event, obviously, we've already broken down so much. Sandhagen for that win there was wildly correct with, of course, that potential KO of the year that we saw. I was leaning more on the decision, though, actually. Zone and Josh told you guys to go with the finish at even better odds, actually. So hopefully you listen to them on that one. Main event, Volkov had a very impressive TKO win over Overeem. Unfortunately, our consensus pick over 2.5 did not happen. I was leaning on Overeem. Zone again correctly predicted Volkov with that victory. So,
I like the 2.5 though. I was locked in on that 2.5 as well. So
exactly, you know what I mean. Hey, you win some, you lose some, and as I said, we're at a 60% win rate right now. We're gonna try and keep it going, right? MMA. At the end of the day, it's hard to predict. We never know what's gonna happen out there, but hey, we can definitely find places of value. We're gonna see if we can get that going this weekend because I definitely think there are. Well, it's another good weekend of matchups, right? Another coming up this weekend. I think the matchmakers did a great job again. With some very interesting and competitive matchups as well. There's not a lot of hype behind this weekend, and certainly Munoz and Rivera getting canceled is a little bit of a bummer. But the main event is an absolute banger. The welterweight championship between Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. Usman's, a moderate favorite at minus 250. Burns the underdog at plus 200, although I think it's a lot closer than, this kind of is represented by the odds. One of the most important elements of this fight is that, these are two former training partners under Henry Hoof, Sanford MMA. Burns and Usman kind of came up together at this camp, and most recently Usman made the move to Colorado to train with Gaethje and Trevor Whitman just before the Jorge Masvidal fight last summer. So Burns and his coaches, know Usman extremely well, right? They know his strengths and weaknesses, and Burns has said in an interview that they've had over 200 hours of sparring together in the training room already. They both have said, each other knows what happens in these sessions. The other guy knows. Only the people in the gym truly know what's gone on in there. But Rashad Evans, who coaches there, has said, Usman, he's won some, Burns has won some. But it sounded like, that Usman was kind of the more consistent winner, right? Was more of the default winner, which makes sense, with him being the champ and all. But Burns, is a really bad matchup for Usman in a lot of ways. Number one, I do not think Usman wants to go to the ground at all with Burns. Burns jiu-jitsu is second to that of only Damian Maia in the welterweight division. Burns looks to submit people as well. He will give up position to attempt submissions and is not afraid of Usman's takedown attempts or his feints, right? He welcomes that takedown. That will prove problematic for Usman's ability to land strikes when Burns doesn't really have to react to those level changes or those feints, right? Usman has proven his striking to be greatly improved and is able to hang with the best of them, certainly. But Burns' striking is better and more powerful than Covington's and Woodley's, I think, at this point, right? Yes, Usman's neutralized Jorge's striking and was able to push him up against the fence, but he wasn't really holding them there. He said himself, right? Masvidal was kind of accepting that position and kind of just staying there. Burns, Burns is not going to do that, right? He's not going to sit there. He's going to look to get those underhooks and reverse that position or look to get off the fence if you're pressuring him. So Kamaru's clear advantage is in the wrestling and in the clinch game. So I think he'll look to initiate the grappling, certainly, and push Burns against the fence, kind of similar to what he did against Masvidal. But will he be able to stay there? Also, with Whitman as his new coach, that, what kind of new wrinkles is going to add into his striking game? Who knows with that, right? A little bit. Usman punches are more straight, right? Jabs, more straight punches as opposed to Burns' looping punches, right? So straight punches beat looping punches every time in terms of speed, but Usman has a bad habit of kind of dropping his hands when he retracts his punches. So that's going to be a little bit of a thing. I hope kind of Trevor kind of corrects that position as well there. Because Burns has a nasty check left hook, a left hook there, and it's going to come around the lower guard if Usman's not careful, right? He has to keep his hands up there. So I just hope that Usman doesn't get too overconfident with his striking and gets caught there. He often plays safe though, and looks to dominate people, as opposed to kind of finishing them, right? So lots of interesting elements to this fight, which makes it very difficult to call. My main play here, though, I'm going Usman by decision plus 125. I think Burns, wins this, maybe 40% of the time, 45% of the time, which is why I can't recommend Usman at minus 250. But him by decision plus 125 seems like positive expected value on my point with that juice, as I don't really see him finishing Burns. Burns, on the other hand, certainly could finish him. And even win in a possibly close 5-round war as well. So going by the distance, I am recommending as a parlay option as well, minus 150 to go to the distance. If you want to lean Burns, I do like the value at plus 400 to finish, or the 4th round at plus 3,300 actually. Looks like lovely value to me if you want to go on the Burns side. But, this is a hard one to call. As I said, Usman decision. That's what I think. If I had to go somewhere, that's where I'm going. But yeah, Zoni, what are you thinking?
I totally agree with you, Z. I'm going to trust in your easy locks for this week. Usman by decision. I definitely think he takes this.
Yeah.
What do you think there, Franz?
Let's call it unanimous. Going with the use man.
Marty Snoozman.
Well, you know what? Again, like it's a tough fight to call. I will not be surprised at all if Burns catches him, right? So it's a tough fight to call, but I'm gonna have to go with Usman and his ability to dominate in terms of the wrestling game, right? He's always been smart. He's always played it. He never takes a risk, right? That's the thing with guys when they get hit or something doesn't go quite right. They kind of fall off a game plan. Usman doesn't. He sticks to it, but he is with a little bit of a different camp, right? So but that's the thing. I really have a lot of confidence in Trevor Whitman, really, as a coach. I maybe it's a little biased there, but I think he's gonna perform well, right?
And he can beat GSP's. Sorry, he can beat GSP's record of most consecutive welterweight division wins. Not to be confused with title defenses, because that's a huge misconception people talk about.
Huge difference there, obviously, right? So yeah, let's not put him in the GSP conversation quite yet, but he's got a couple more in him, I think. And then we'll see. Again, like I said, I will not be surprised. Burns a bad matchup for him, but I gotta go with the stronger, just the overall stronger play there, right? So yeah, going on to the next co-main event though, women's flyweight is between a fast up and comer Macy Barber against Alexa Grasso. It's basically a pick'em fight. Grasso's coming in as a slight favorite at minus 125. Barber's the underdog at plus 100. Barber coming off a decision loss to Roxanne Modafferi, in which she tore her ACL at the very beginning of 2020, right? That's when that fight happened. So she's looking to bounce back, as her 4th fight in flyweight. Alexa herself as well recently moved up from strawweight to flyweight after a decision loss to Carla Esparza. Alexa defeated Ji Yeon Kim in her first flyweight fight. First flyweight fight last summer, right? Looks to continue that streak. Her boxing is very technical, Grasso, right? And keeps people on the end of her jab very well, sticks and moves efficiently. And I think Barber's going to have a lot of trouble with Grasso here. If Barber's getting, dropped by Roxanne's jab, then I have to believe Alexa is going to be able to land and her Barber as well. Perhaps Macy's going to be able to power her way through and land her own shots and get some of those power punches or take down Alexa. But Alexa's movement, as I said, is great for the division. Footwork is very, very good. Again, this is another close fight, but I'm going to take Alexa on this one. I'm not sure why UFC is really kind of doing this. They're putting two up and comers together in this kind of shallow division in women's flyweight. So you're kind of stunting one's growth here when they lose. But Grasso by decision, plus 120, looks very good value to me. Again, the over as well. If Barber does win, I don't really think she finishes Grasso here. I think it's she may be a little tentative on that knee, and look to kind of just get comfortable in the first round and feel out the fight. So the fight to go to decision, minus 225. I think it's nice to parlay with some other things we spoke about before and after as well. But yeah, what are you thinking, Zone?
I honestly hate disagreeing with you because it goes against us being together as a team, but I think it's an absolute embarrassment that Macy Barber's plus 100. I'm going to take that.
Right.
I'm going to put several units on it. I'm extremely confident she's going to win this fight. Grasso's, good looking girl, and she's been doing a lot of Instagram stuff lately, but Macy Barber has a lot to prove with that injury and losing to, even though she's a vet, not a killer like Roxanne. Today, before you said that, now you're making me double think about how this fight's going to finish. But I actually thought today that Barber's going to choke her out. Now you're making me think that maybe she just might straight up win money line. But I am all over Barber this weekend, and it might even be my lock of the month.
Well, it did open up as Grasso was like a minus 175 or something, and then like a ton of money came down on Barber, right? So the odds makers were, kind of looks like they made a mistake a little bit, right? And because a lot of people, but is that Barber has a little bit of a hype train around her though, right? Like I would almost disagree. It's because like Embedded showing Barber, they're not showing Grasso, right? Like they're kind of hyping up Barber a little bit in terms, you know what I mean, a little bit too much, right? Again, I mean, it's going to be a close fight, or we'll see what happens. I can definitely see Barber finishing, right? It's a pick-em fight for a reason, in my opinion. I actually kind of agree where this line has settled at a little bit, right? Because it's another thing, right? They both were at straw weight before, and which is the depth is much larger at straw weight. Now they've come up to flyweight where they're killing people, but it's Valentina owns this, and there's a bunch of scrubs basically, right? It's basically Calderwood and Valentina or whatever, right? Like so it's going to be a tough battle for sure.
And your girl Lauren Murphy too.
Oh no. My crush Lauren Murphy.
Yeah.
But in the interest of time, I don't have too much of other breakdowns per se. The only other one obviously is Gastelum against Ein Heinisch. Kelvin. Kelvin's a favorite at minus 225, Heinisch plus 187. I was leaning on really Gastelum here in terms of finishing plus 275. I think that looks like good value. He could catch him. I think he's, a great boxing actually, but maybe people have kind of figured out his game, right? And he's not even really a 185 or he should be a 170, right? If he was actually truly kind of sticking to his diet or whatever. But what do you think, Zone? I don't know about this one. But
I think Gastelum wins. The guys he's lost to recently, like Adesanya, and like he has 3 losses, I believe, in his last 4, like legit, like top level guys. Like Heinisch isn't anywhere close to those guys. I think
that's true.
I think Gastelum wins as well for sure.
Yeah, I like that one. And then the other one I was going to say just very quickly on my end, I don't even know if I'm going to say it. Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez. Rodolfo take him second round plus 400. Looks like excellent value. Or if you just want to like parlay him minus 225 with something, round 1 plus 105. This guy's going to win. I think he's a great prospect. Let's see what's happening there. But yeah, anything else to add there, Zone? Any other picks that you're loving?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one too. Vieira is a killer. I have 2 quick ones here. Our boy Maki Pitolo is fighting Julian Marquez. I think it's under 2.5 rounds. I think it's going to be a banger. It's minus 138 for the under there, so it is actually a favorite to happen. And the other one, just a kind of a crazy underdog. Douglas Lima's brother, Diego Lima, is fighting Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad's really technical, great on his feet. That is plus 300, so a huge underdog. But I mean, this guy trains with Douglas Lima and a ton of other good guys. I like that one too, just as an underdog.
Rudy, nice
Nice.
picks. Let's get it this weekend. We'll see ya at the cashier.
Go Bucks, baby!
Let's go.
Woo. Good job,
Nice.
boys.
All right. Less than a minute.
Get ahead of that book.
Get ahead of that book. Yeah, no, man. Like I said,
Okay. This week, welcome to the show, Hooks in MMA. We've got Sebastian Szalay. He's our first fighter from down under, international guest. So please give him a warm welcome. Welcome, Seb.
How's it going, man? Good to be on.
It's going well. Thanks for joining here. How are things down in sunny Australia?
Really good at the moment. The weather's good. Everything seems to be going well. COVID-wise, injury-wise, everything's going really good. Yeah, really good at the moment.
That's awesome. So we know you're prepping for a fight here. So just for our fans, Seb's going to be fighting this Saturday night, February 13th, Eternal MMA 56. He's got a fight here on the undercard. So it's his second pro fight. He's 1-0 so far. And hope all our viewers tune in. So Seb, just wanted to start off things. Tell us a bit about where you grew up and how you got into the sport of mixed martial arts.
So grew up in Perth, Western Australia. Started martial arts. Well, technically I started karate at a very young age. My brother and my dad first started, and it became kind of like a family thing where we all just went along with it. And then basically all my family got involved. And then since now it's been 16 years I've been involved in karate. Currently running a karate club / MMA club at the moment with my dad. So it's a long-going business at the moment. And so what else did you ask again?
Yeah, just what got you into the sport? So obviously your dad, a big influence. Any fighters that might stick in your mind when you were growing up as a kid that were a bit of role models or someone you looked up to as well?
Role models wise, just again, like all the movie stuff and just everything, like being involved in karate. I had a lot of guys who were very good martial artists as I was growing up, and I was looking up to a lot of them. And basically that kept me really involved, especially my older brother. I got two older brothers. They got me really involved into karate. They were competing at a young age as well, and I'm the youngest, so I was always just watching them, watching everyone else compete and train, and that really started pushing me into competing in karate. And from there, I started competing at national and international level, and for about 8 years. And then from there, basically, I was getting to a transitional point when I met you, actually, when we were in Europe. That's when I took a little bit of a break, because before my trip to Europe and everything like that and my holidays, and I took a little bit of a break from karate because I was doing it for a long time, but there was just a phase where I was going through where I was kind of like, I wanted to do something more. And I was always a big fan of MMA. And I always looked up to George St. Pierre, actually. He was like a massive one as well. Like, as you could say, probably one of the guys I did look up to in the MMA sense, not just karate. But I was always a big fan of that, and my family was as well. And basically, I needed a transition from karate because I was competing that for so long, and I got multiple titles at national and international level. But from there, basically, I wanted to try something new, and that got me into the avenue of trying MMA. And I basically just dropped out of karate. I dropped out of the national team and the international team, and I started pursuing MMA from there. And I didn't really know where I was going to go, but I believed in my abilities and what I could do, and I could transition into that realm basically and bring something new to the game, especially in the sense, like in Australia, you haven't had many at the time karate guys coming through in my state doing MMA or doing it like that. So basically it was like a first little transition thing. And when I started, I believed in what I could do. And then as I started going and the training started, I started getting better at training and everything like that, it all started click basically. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, GSP, obviously here in Canada, huge hero, and I think a big influence on the younger generations getting into the sport. So can totally
Yeah.
see that.
100%.
Was there a specific moment that you can look back on and you say, hey, that was the moment I knew I wanted to pursue this, become a professional, and actually make a living out of this? Or was it just something you kind of had in the back of the mind and it was always there? Or do you have a distinct memory?
I always knew when I was competing in karate that I was gonna make it to a certain level, but always in the back of my head, I was like, there was that MMA thing I wanted to try as well, you know. So it was like, basically, from there, once I started MMA and I started training, I knew from there on, right there, this is what I want to do. I want to be a professional MMA fighter. I want to get to the UFC. I want to get that gold around my waist. I want to do all of that. So from then on until now, I've been just obsessed with MMA, what I'm doing, training in and out. It's just been an obsession. So yeah, I can say just when I left karate and I came to start training MMA, I was like, this is it. This is for me. So from there, yeah, it was a big change.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can definitely see that level of commitment. Just been following you throughout your amateur career into the pros now.
Yeah.
Outside of karate, so that's your foundation. What's your
Yep.
favorite, let's call it skill or specialty that you've maybe developed or honed in over these last couple of years? Is there one that comes to mind?
From karate?
No, like something else, like something like jujitsu or Muay Thai or wrestling or boxing. What would be another discipline that you've really take a liking to outside of karate?
Wrestling is definitely, yeah, I've got a big love for wrestling now. As I started training that more with some of the guys now, like it's just been, I love wrestling, like, you know, the whole idea of that. I've become a bit obsessed with that now. Wrestling is a big part of it, and the transition from striking to the wrestling and all that, it's just yeah, it's really hooked me onto it big time.
Yep, all the level changes and different ways you can contort your opponent's body. There's
100%,
a lot of
yeah,
technical skills there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because like from karate, it's very limited in that sense. They did have some takedowns you could do and stuff, and I did do a lot of takedowns and that. But now that I get to open up my repertoire and do wrestling now, and just, you know, be creative in the sense that I can just do it all in MMA. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's amazing. And I know you touched on earlier, you said growing up, there wasn't a huge scene for MMA or UFC in general. So we all know the sport's been growing rapidly. It's becoming global, right? I see a lot of Australians having success recently. Volkanovski,
Yep.
Whitaker, Jimmy Crute. Just those are just some of the names, but I know there's a ton more. Maybe comment on the current scene, and Eternal MMA is a great example of that, right? Where you've got these regional high produced level shows. Maybe comment on, yeah, what that regional Australian fighting scene looks like.
It's definitely growing now. From the last couple of events we've had, Eternal wise, like you can see, especially now with the Fight Pass deal and everything, it's taking another level. It is the biggest organization in Australia at the moment. No doubt about that. So Eternal and some of the guys that are coming through now, you can look, there's international caliber there, 100%. So they're coming in. Speaking at UFC, what, like in the sense of all those guys like Volkanovski, Robert Whitaker and all them, yeah, you can see that we're starting to have a big push now. And when I was starting to come in, there wasn't too many of that. You just, you know, you hear the odd Australian fighters and coming through, but now like you can see we're starting to come in with the big force. And I think in a couple of years, you're going to see a lot of us come through at international level, UFC and everything. So it's going to be pretty exciting for sure.
No, that's awesome. I do remember some of the earlier UFCs headed over to Australia for some of the live events, and they were great successes. The fans were insane. So I think the whole nation's kind of embraced it, from what I can tell at least. And that bodes well for young development and young talent like yourself.
Oh,
Right?
it helps all of us in the sense, yeah, like the more those guys keep pushing, yeah, we're all just coming right behind them. It's definitely helping all of us, and it's growing. Definitely, you couldn't have done it without them. Obviously, like Volkanovski, like what he's done as well is fucking insane. Like, you know,
Yeah.
And Rob Whittaker, like those guys, you look at them and you're just like, all right, we're definitely coming in hot now. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whitaker personally is my favorite middleweight to watch, and
Yeah,
excited.
I really like Whittaker. Yeah.
Yeah, to see, if he can make another run at the belt there.
Yeah, I definitely want to see him fight Izzy again. That definitely.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Izzy as well. I like Izzy, so yeah.
See what happens versus Jan here, stepping up a class, but that is intriguing to see what develops further, right? So
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you hear that and you go, holy shit, like that's it. But I honestly think Izzy will beat Jan 100%.
Yeah?
I reckon.
Yeah, just the speed and just striking.
I just feel like from watching his last fight, Jan, like
Mhm.
his technical side is not as like Izzy's is far beyond, like
Right.
just another level. So I just
Footwork,
reckon
athleticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just coming into himself now. You can see like he's in his prime. Obviously, his last couple of fights have been great, but yeah, he's just getting better.
Yeah, no, it does. It seems like every appearance he outdoes himself off the last one. So
100%. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a bit about your ramp up here. So, we've sent some messages back and forth over the last 3 years. It sounded like you hit a bit of an injury bug late last year. So tell us a bit about that, your recovery, and how that's been going, and how you're leading up for your fight here in February.
Yeah, so it kind of all started last year around March. I was actually had a fight in April, and I was in Thailand preparing for a camp there. And this is when all the COVID stuff started to hit hard. And basically, I had an event in Perth booked. I had an opponent coming over as well from overseas, and everything was on smooth track until all the COVID stuff came. So that once that all hit, the event got pulled, everything got pulled. So it was a shame. So I came back from Thailand and then basically did my quarantine, and I just waited for months, and I was just training as much as I could do. Then from there, another fight was obviously booked, and then literally I signed my contract and everything was going smooth until I had a bit of an injury, and then it was bothering me for a while during camp at the start. And then I went to go get an x-ray, and I had fragments of bone floating around my elbow like a bunch. And this was like for a couple of months. Apparently this was happening. We thought it was another injury, thought it was something else. And we realized it was actually pretty serious. And I tried to do a bunch of things to get to the fight, but with my teammates around me and my coaches around me, we had a big discussion about it, and unfortunately we had to pull out, which is a shame. So that was a bit of a bummer, but in the end, it is what it is. Moving on now, everything happens for a reason. And basically got the surgery done, got it cleaned out, and the last couple of months I've been just training, and now I'm good to go. The fight's booked for February 13th. I'm feeling good. My elbow's good now. No injuries, 100%, and I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, it's good to hear you bounce back and you're going to be stronger than ever. So let's talk a bit about your game plan. You've got Abdallah El-Tigani. He's a 5-2 amateur making his pro debut. He's a 6'3" featherweight, so something you don't necessarily see all the time on the tail of the tape.
No, it's a little bit different, isn't it?
Talk to us a bit about your camp, how you're preparing. Have you watched video, film on this guy? Tell me what your thoughts are on him.
So basically, this is how the fight's going to go down. You seen Bruce Lee, The Game of Death, when he goes up the levels? He fights the tall, the basketball player?
Yeah.
That's going to be how the fight's going to go. I'm Bruce Lee, and he's that guy.
Okay, he's on stilts, and you're knocking him down off the stilts.
Yeah. Nah, we had a look at him, and look, he's a good opponent. Good, obviously he's a kickboxer. All around, he can fight. There's no doubt about that. But we've got a good game plan for him. Ways to get around his length and reach is a big thing. Personally, I look at his skills and everything like that. He is a substandard fighter in a kickboxing sense. So
Mm-hmm.
he does everything good, but he's just a kickboxer. That's it.
Yep.
The ways to get
One-dimensional.
around him, yeah, his reach and his height is what gives him that advantage on other fighters. If you've watched previously, which we have, which a lot of the guys don't know, how to cover distances, how to create angles, how to shut down that taller person. Obviously, he is very tall, so if you're not used to it, it can shock you. But previously, I have the fighting style and the attributes to deal with a tall person like that. I've been dealing with tall, rangy fighters for a very long time, since my karate career and even my MMA. I have my ways of getting around it, and we've come up with some good game plans for him. And I think he's going to be in for a bit of a shock for sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much, but in the sense of this will be a good strategy game for both of us, and it's going to be a good match. And I'm looking to get it done early rounds. And I feel like with the tools that I have, I can dismantle him and finish him.
Yep, and that's what we're rooting for. So again, let's tune in Saturday night here, Eternal MMA 56. It's going to be a banger of a fight. Let's say things go well and you're on to that next step. Any call outs, any fighters that you think would be a great matchup for yourself and for your career and your progress towards the UFC?
At the moment, we'll see. Because of the border closures, it's very difficult. There is some guys, obviously there's an Eternal featherweight title as well. That's there as well. There's a couple of guys there. That's what I want. I want that title as well.
A couple contenders.
Yeah, I want the top guys now. So we'll see for now. I'm not going to really say too many names because it could change at the moment due to all this stuff. But I'm ready for whatever. In the end, it doesn't matter about the opponents. They're all the same. That's the way I look at it. I'm just going out there and just going to fight. Yeah.
Get the W and move on to...
That's it, man. Yeah.
Tougher
honestly,
competition.
It doesn't matter at this level. I'm looking at international level. Like in the sense of this year, I respect everyone here and what they do, all the fighters and everything like that, but I'm looking above that. I want to go international and fight that caliber. So that's my goal. Yeah.
Amazing.
100%.
And then I guess on that note, tell us a bit about the gym and team that you currently fight with. Tell us about the guys there. I don't know, just maybe some of the styles or expertise that they bring to the table that you use in your book of weapons.
So basically, I'm training a bit all over the place. Like I have a few gyms that I go to, but lately I've been sparring with a lot of tall guys, preparing for this.
Good idea.
And yeah, that's it. I'm training with a couple of high-level judo players at international, national level, very high-level judo players. And I believe they're like in Perth at the moment. They're like the best grapplers at the moment that I've been training with. And basically, I'm getting a lot out of that. And a lot of the guys that I train with sparring-wise were kind of suited to this type of style, which I've got my upcoming bout. So, yeah, it's good at the moment. We're preparing quite well for this.
Amazing. Yeah, sounds really well-rounded, both on the feet and then on the mat as well. Good to hear. So before we wrap things up, we're going to be doing our normal segment of our interviews. It's called In Between Rounds. Seb, going to be hitting you with some rapid-fire questions. We'll try to knock off as many as we can.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's do it. Favorite place
just one,
ever?
One.
Yep.
Just one. Just.
Yep.
Do I just say whatever comes to my mind? Yeah.
So the first few are going to be questions, and then I'm going to give you some to choose from, like multiple choice. Okay.
Let's do it. All right.
The first one's open-ended. Favorite place ever traveled in the world?
Vegas.
And just a little fun fact, Seb mentioned it. We met in Europe back in 2015, so I had to lead with that one. Vegas it is. And that's fitting for your career choice. So
100%. That's why. Yeah.
I hope to cheer you on in Vegas one of these days. Okay.
Let's do it.
We'll party after.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get back to the rapid fire here.
Yeah.
If you ever had to choose one restaurant to eat at for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I would say it's called Hungry Jack's here, but Burger King.
Okay. You like your burgers? It's a good call.
I love my burgers, man. I love it.
Big burger guy.
Yeah.
What would be your favorite sport outside of karate or MMA?
Wrestling.
Wrestling. Okay. Yep. I know you've been working on that. Now we're going to get into some multiple choice. The greatest of all time, Khabib, Bones Jones, GSP, or other?
I would say now, Khabib.
Okay. I know that's a tough one. I think you could say any name there and we'd all agree with you.
GSP was my other one. And now I look back, I say GSP as well because I'm a big fucking fan of GSP. So
Yeah.
yeah,
If you ask me, I'm saying GSP, but I'm biased. So
yeah, that's understandable.
here's an Australian one I got just for you. AC/DC or INXS?
AC, 100%.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
That's it.
If you had to pick an outcome to a fight, would you prefer a knockout, a submission, or a 3 or 5 round war?
Knockout.
Knockout all day.
Clean. Get it done. Get the job done. Move on to the next one.
Amazing. And then finally here, what is your prediction to your upcoming fight?
I would say a finish in the first or second round.
Okay. Early finish. So if the betting lines are open, that's what we're putting our money on this week. All right. And then finally, to wrap things up for today's chat, do you have any sponsors, shout outs, or people you want to thank here?
I'd like to thank Enhanced CBD Oil. They've been looking out for me for the last couple of months and sponsoring me with the CBD oil, and it's been fantastic and great. Definitely, whoever's listening to this, get onto them. They're the best. They're Australian, but at the moment, with the CBD and the way it's growing, they're the ones to go to. Other one, Vex, is the guys who are sponsoring me for my fight kit for my upcoming fight. Again, thanks to those boys. They're looking out for me and all the support, and I'm looking forward to that and working with them. And obviously, all my fight team and everyone around me, I'm excited and I can't wait. And I thank everyone for all the support.
Amazing, Seb. Well, again, thanks for coming on. This is Hooks in MMA. This is Sebastian Szalay. He's fighting this Saturday night, Eternal MMA 56. It's on UFC Fight Pass. Make sure to check it out because he's going to be looking to go 2-0 and on to the next one. Thanks again, Seb.
And thank you for bringing me on and all that. I really appreciate it and all the support.
Amazing. Look forward to having you on again soon. Cheers.
All right, brother. Cheers, man.
Next up on the Hooks In MMA podcast, we're lucky to have on today 13-7 middleweight. He's got a big fight coming up on February 13th. Maki, Coconut Bombz, Pitolo. How's it going today?
Good, my brother. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. We appreciate it. So we just talked briefly there. You were born in Hawaii. What was it like growing up in Hawaii? And, a place I've always wanted to get to, one of the most beautiful places I've seen that I haven't been to. How was it growing up there?
It's definitely paradise. Definitely, man. We grew up on the beaches, barefoot, shirt off, running around. It's beautiful. And growing up in there, it's a humbling experience because it pays the price to live in paradise, man. You got poverty, but then at the same time, you got such a beautiful place, but it costs an arm and a leg just to live there. So, I mean, growing up, it wasn't the easiest, but it was also still the most fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just a product of my environment, man.
Absolutely. So when did you start getting into MMA then? What age would that have been?
I got into MMA, let's see, right around I had my first fight when I was 17. So I started training right around 16, and I fell in love with it, man, immediately. The fight that got me hooked on was the Forrest Griffin against Stephen Bonner fight. And after that, it was kind of like, where do I got to go to find like the kickboxing gym or the jiu-jitsu gym, the wrestling? Because I never wrestled in high school. I just played football all my life. And it was kind of like that dream that was calling me, like, man, this is what I want to do. I don't want to play football anymore. I want to go down this avenue. So I started doing it slowly just to keep in shape. Once I did find the kickboxing gym, then I left football and I went all into the kickboxing, and then slowly started to progress from there and learn all the other aspects that there was for MMA, all the other tools that you needed, all the other backgrounds that you needed. I slowly started picking it up as we went on.
Yeah. Are you a Rainbow Warriors fan?
I'm sorry.
Rainbow Warriors fan?
Oh yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of the Rainbow Warriors. Anybody, any team from Hawaii or any of our islands, I'm all for it.
I had a couple buddies that actually played
Hawaii,
golf
all
at
day.
Chaminade.
Oh yeah, they're big time.
Yeah.
They got a lot of good players out there.
Yeah. So, what gym are you currently training out of for this fight, and who's in your corner?
This fight, I'm training out of Extreme Couture MMA. Then I'm gonna be having my corners right now is gonna be Coach Giff, Coach Eric, and then I always have my brother Alfonso there.
Awesome.
So it's good, man. We got the winning team coming in there.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and I hope so. Your career thus far. So you obviously, you had your professional fights, like you were talking, at 17, or you started fighting at 17, and Dana White Contender Series, you got to finish, but this will be your 5th fight in under a year and a half. How are you able to keep so busy? And does that speak to like the hunger you have for the sport and for this game?
Yeah, I love to compete. It's definitely the best part of being a martial artist is being able to go out there and compete and entertain millions of people. But yeah, this is what I love to do. This is what drives me to keep on staying busy, train day in and day out, and just stay fit. It's more of a lifestyle than a sport for me.
Yeah. And so February 13th, you're fighting Julian Marquez. How do you think you match up against him?
I feel like it's a real entertaining fight. I'm excited for it. I know he's a striker, a brawler. He's got some knockouts under his belt, and he's still kind of in the beginning stages of his career too. I think he's like 7-2 or something like that. But I'm expecting the best version of him. He's had a couple fights fall out, so I know he's a bit eager to get out there. So I'm excited, man. I'm definitely gonna go out there and put on a show for everybody, and I know he's coming through.
I think your experience is going to help you prevail. So hopefully that happens. What do you like to do after fights? I talk to different people. You got weight cuts and you got your training camp, and then you've got your fight. Are you that guy that likes to eat, a bunch of food that you normally wouldn't, or do you have a beer, or what do you like to do?
Yeah, man. I definitely indulge, but I try not to get too far off track. Maybe like a good week, but this time around, who knows? We might go home. We might come here. Whatever feels right at the time. I like to main thing is just unwind and relax from the hard training that I just put myself through on weeks at a time. So I like to just kind of decompress and just have that whatever the family wants to do kind of thing.
Yeah. Speaking of family, do you have your own family then?
Yeah, I got 2 kids, Maddox and Mia, and then I got my wife Chastity, and I moved them all up here, and now we're up here, man. We're making it happen. Living in the uncomfortable zone.
Yeah. How old are the kids?
My son is just turned 3. My daughter just turned 9.
Awesome. Congrats on that. My son just turned 1, so it's new part of life, right? It's fun
Beautiful,
stuff.
beautiful.
Yeah. So just to finish off between rounds segment, it usually about a minute. I'm gonna ask you a question. You give me your best answer, okay?
All right.
What's your favorite kind of food to eat?
Musubis.
What's that?
It's a spam nori wrapped around with rice in the middle.
That sounds good. Favorite sport other than MMA?
I'm gonna have to say football.
Do you have a favorite NFL team?
Not at the moment, but since I'm coming up here, it's gonna have to be the Raiders.
Okay. Well, cross your fingers for my Tampa Bay Bucks today.
Hey.
What's your favorite getaway spot in Hawaii that if somebody had never been there before, you'd have to tell them to go?
Gonna have to be Yokohama Beach, or we call it Yokes.
Yokes. Okay. Favorite country in the world other than the States or Hawaii?
It's gonna have to be Brazil because that's the only other country I visited.
Well, we have to get up to Canada someday then. Favorite type of music?
I'm gonna have to say whatever gets the blood pumping and whatever gets the body moving.
And favorite kind of movie? You have a favorite movie of all time?
I dislike scary movies, but I love funny movies.
I'm going to ask you a couple different fights here. Tell me who you think's going to win, okay?
All right.
Adesanya or Blachowicz?
Adesanya.
Miocic or Ngannou 2?
Ngannou.
Usman or Burns?
I'm gonna have to go with Burns.
Ortega or Volkanovski?
Ortega.
Jan or Sterling?
Sterling.
And Pitolo or Marquez on February 13th, and how?
Coconut bombs, baby. Let's go. And
Let's
I'm
go.
looking for the finish anywhere in the freaking game. Anywhere along that 15-minute stretch, I'm looking for that finish.
I can see it happening. Any sponsor shoutouts or social media to finish up?
Guys, go follow Coconut Bombs shop or coconutbombs.com. Stay tuned. We got lots of drops coming through, and it's going to be fire, man. 2021. Everybody just keep grinding. I know COVID is a SOB, but let's go, man. All aloha to everybody out there, and just keep getting after it, guys.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed the fights last night. Looking forward to February 13th. Coconut bombs are going to be spraying all over the place. Good luck with that. And thanks for coming on Hooks and MMA.
Thank you. I appreciate it, my brother. Mahalos.
No problem. Have a great day.
You too.
Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, yeah.